When is the appropriate time for a trans person to tell somebody that they are seeing or who they intend to start seeing that they are trans? Well, that's completely up to the trans person. When they decide to divulge this very personal, very intimate, private information to anyone is completely up to them. And I'll tell you why. When a trans person comes out as trans, worst case scenario, they are murdered for being trans. If a trans person doesn't tell you that they are trans as early as you would have liked them to, worst case scenario, your feelings get hurt and the relationship ends. Their safety trumps your feelings 100% of the time. In the same way, I wouldn't expect a woman to divulge her body count to a man until she felt safe and comfortable doing so, because some men really couldn't care less. Some men will have a limit, like 2 or 3 is fine, but any more than 5 and you're a slut. And then there are some men who expect you to be a virgin, and if you've ever had sex before, they take that to mean that it's okay for them to rape you. And what is it you women always say? We don't know which ones it is, so we have to be cautious of all of them, right? And FYI, just because you personally wouldn't assault a trans person, doesn't mean that nobody would. Even in my comment section, I've had people leave messages like, if I found out that I was on a date with a guy pretending to be a girl, I'd beat the shit out of him. So yeah, the risk is very real. So most people nowadays use dating apps to talk and get to know people before you meet up for the first time. So why don't trans people just put that on their profile so that everybody knows up front? Well, some people are very loud and proud about being trans, and that's great for them. But some people maybe don't want the whole world to know. Maybe they only trust people that they are very close to with that information. Maybe they just want people to get to know them as the person that they are without having to have every conversation prefaced with, I am trans. But also, being on an app doesn't protect them from attack. Not only does it open them up to receiving abusive messages, but people dox strangers, out them, and try to get them fired all the time. And worse. To me, the solution is pretty obvious. If you are the kind of person who would never date a trans person, why don't you put that on your profile or bring it up on a first date? Honestly, if you have any 100% deal breakers, it's your responsibility to bring that up. You can't expect the people you're on a date with to just psychically know what those things are. Like if it's really important to you that you get married and have kids, or if you could never date a smoker, or if you have trauma related to excessive alcohol consumption. How is the person you're dating supposed to know what information is relevant and what isn't unless you tell them?
But being trans is a really big, important piece of information.
Yeah, to you, because it matters to you. For me, if someone came out as being trans months after we'd already been dating, my first response would not be, I can't believe you hadn't told me this already, why have you been lying to me all this time? It would be, I'm so sorry that you haven't felt comfortable enough to tell me this before. Personally, I think around date 3 is the limit. I think if you've been on 3 dates with a person and you're still not sure whether or not you can trust them with this information, you probably shouldn't see them again. I definitely think you should tell them before you become physical with them, just because people are more likely to react badly if they feel like they didn't have informed consent. I had someone try to tell me that the longer you put off telling someone, the more likely they are to react badly to it, but here's the thing. If at any point during those 3 dates the trans person thinks you might be dangerous, then they can just end things without ever having to tell you, therefore keeping them safe. If you're someone who is not dangerous, but just wouldn't ever date a trans person, and you find out that they are trans on date 3, so what?
But they've wasted my time and they've wasted their time by not being upfront about it.
And I say again, if it was that important to you, why didn't you bring it up? And if you agreed to 3 dates, you must have liked them and enjoyed their company, so isn't that enough? Not all dates turn into a long-term thing. That's just dating life. At least you had a nice time with an interesting person. But to reiterate what I said at the start, the safety and the comfort of the trans person is the determining factor. So it's up to them, not you.